So we're doing this or not? We're changing the constitution or not? We're removing King Charles or not? What do you think? I'll soon tell you what I think. I'm Dionne Jackson Miller. Thanks for joining me. Time for tea. So Jamaica is supposed to be reforming its constitution. Why I say it like that? Because at this point, I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know based on where we are now. Only the politician them can tell me right now, all right? Right now, we not talk. So where we are now is that there is a bill in Parliament that's supposed to amend or change the constitution. So if that gets passed into law, it's going to remove the king as our head of state. It's going to do some other stuff. We can talk about that another time. But really right now, what we're focusing on, the big thing, is to get rid of King Charles as our head of state. Stick a pin for one moment. What is a head of state? The head of state is the highest representative of a sovereign state like Jamaica, who may or may not also be the head of government. And the role of the head of state is primarily representative, right? They're supposed to symbolize the unity of the country, the integrity of the country at home and abroad. In Jamaica, we have a separate head of government and head of state, all right? The Prime Minister is head of government. King Charles is our head of state. And his representative here in Jamaica, as I'm sure you know, is the Governor General. But what I'm realizing a lot of people don't understand is that the King and the GG really don't run Jamaica. They're basically pretty... Okay, maybe not pretty. How about colorful? They're colorful face cards for the country, symbolizing the unity of the country. So the king and the GG can't get up and decide what laws Jamaica is going to pass. Having said that, though, Parliament consists of the House of Representatives, that's the MPs, the Senate, the senators, as well as the king. So laws will be passed by the lower house, passed by our upper house, but then they can't come into effect until the Governor General signs them as the king's representative. And no, the GG can't say, I'm not like the lawyer, I'm not pass it. That's not how it works. What else does the Governor General do? He has a lot of ceremonial roles. You've probably heard when we have the opening of Parliament every year, the Governor General gives what is called the throne speech that speaks about what the government is going to be doing in the year to come. But again, remember, those are government policies. Those aren't GG policies. He's just a symbol. Right? He's just reading the government's intentions. So right now, government and opposition actually agree that Jamaica should get rid of the king. Celebration, right? Them agree on something. So are we going to get rid of the king? Well, first of all, there's a process. You can't just send one email, say, bye boy. The Constitution sets out a process. So right now, the Constitution says the king is head of state. So we have to change the Constitution to take out that part that said the king is head of state and put in another part that says we're going to have a Jamaican head of state. So to do that now, we need 2/3 of the MPs in the lower house of Parliament to vote yes. Then we need 2/3 of the senators in the upper house to vote yes. Then now we come in. The public would now vote in a referendum, and that's really just a national vote on a specific topic. In this case, should the king be removed? Here's the thing though. In the House of Representatives right now, 2/3 of the 63 seats is 42. But remember, the Andrew Holness-led JLP wiped out the PNP in the last general election in 2020. They won 49 seats. The PNP only won 14. So right now, the JLP can get that 2/3 vote all by themselves without the need for any support from the opposition MPs. They don't need the opposition there at all in the lower house. When we come to the upper house now, it's a different thing. You have 21 senators. 13 of them are government senators. 8 are opposition senators. So to get that 2/3 vote in the Senate now, if you do the math, you have to have 14 senators. That means at least one opposition senator has to vote with the 13 government senators to get that 2/3 yes vote. And that was deliberate. You know, the whole idea is that some things are so important that you want bipartisan agreement if you're going to change them in the Constitution, and this is one of them. So without the opposition support, Mr. King now go nowhere, right? If you can't get the Senate support, it can still come to the people in a referendum, but then you'd need a much higher percentage of people voting yes, 3/5, and that's not going to happen, especially if the opposition isn't supporting it. It's just not going to happen. So where are we now? Since the government and opposition both agree that we should remove the king, we're supposed to good, not true, except not so. And that is because another issue in relation to constitutional reform is whether we should move away from the London-based Judicial Committee of the Privy Council as our final appellate court. Look, the Privy Council, as we usually call it, is a British court. It advises the king, right? If you look at their website, they say that the jurisdiction, meaning power, of the Privy Council originated at the Norman Conquest. That's way, way, way back, right? When they said the king is a fountain of all justice throughout his dominions, we're a dominion, by the way, and exercises jurisdiction in his council, which acts in an advisory capacity to the crown. All right, I'll just let that sink in there. Now, the PNP wants Jamaica to get rid of the Privy Council and to move towards or to adopt the nearly 20-year-old Caribbean Court of Justice as our final court. The JLP has been resisting signing on to the CCJ, the Caribbean Court of Justice, for 20 years, and they're still not agreeing to it. So the PNP says they're not going to give them support to remove the king as head of state unless the government also agrees that it's time to remove the Privy Council. Government say, right now, we just a deal with king. We not deal with court. Another time we deal with the court. Opposition say, no, son, I take we for idiot. Next time might never come. So now we have a parliamentary committee looking at this bill to remove the king, but the opposition is boycotting the meetings of the parliamentary committee. So this is why I say this is going nowhere. Look, let me tell you something. This is one I hope I'm wrong on, right? I really want to be wrong on this, but I don't see it. I don't see them meeting. I don't see them coming to an agreement on this because now we hear the JLP talking about a final court in Jamaica. So JLP look like kill them dead. They're not going to the CCJ. Another time I do a video on the Privy Council and the Caribbean Court of Justice and Jamaica's history with both of them. And former Prime Minister Edward Seaga, now deceased, who is the main reason Jamaica never signed on to the CCJ. But the main point right now is that the government and the opposition are deadlocked, and we the people are stuck in the middle. So what do I think? Look, I think we need to remove the king as our head of state like yesterday. I think symbols are important. I think the way we're holding on to these British monarchs as heads of state is just historically and culturally insulting. I do think we need to sign on to the Caribbean Court of Justice as our final court. Look, no court is perfect. All of them make mistakes, and yes, that includes the British court then. But the CCJ has proven itself over the past 20 years. The judgments are generally solid, they're well-researched, culturally relevant, and there's analysis that says this. In relation to the PNP boycotting the sittings of the parliamentary committee, I don't think that's going to work. I understand what they're saying. The government is not acting as if it has any intention of getting rid of the Privy Council and signing on to the Caribbean Court of Justice. I do think the opposition could agree to vote with the government to remove the king as the head of state. It comes in a referendum to us. We all remove the king, and then there isn't any move to remove the Privy Council as a final court, and we're stuck with them for another generation or until they kick us out. But having said that, I don't think strong-arming people is the way to get them to agree to do anything. So I don't think the boycott is going to accomplish what the PNP hopes it will. What is going to move this issue? I have no idea. At this point, I'm giving up, right? I think removing the king as head of state, removing the Privy Council as our final appellate court is work that's probably going to have to wait for another generation when the current crop of politicians them gone at them yard. Again, I would love to be wrong on this one. I am hoping I get to come back in a video and say, guess what? I was wrong. We're doing this. Having said that, gonna have to leave it there. Just to say, by the way, I'm gonna be doing a whole series on constitutional reform issues and the Constitution, so make sure you look out for that, all right? Do remember, like the video, share it with somebody who might be interested, subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell to make sure you know anytime I have a new video out. I'm Dionne. Thanks for watching. Go and drink my tea.